Good morning, everyone. I believe, can you confirm that the meeting is going on and then you can hear me? So,
Yeah.
yes, great. Thank you. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this information workshop, which is actually part of a series of information and consultation workshops we have been carrying out for the past almost 2 years concerning the design platform. Today's topic will be on the upcoming call for proposals for the design enablement teams. My name is Georgi Kuzmanov, and I'm a program officer with CHIPS Joint Undertaking. So I will go through, I'll make the introduction first, and then I'll hand over to other presenters as per the agenda, which I'll present in a moment. So let me start with the objectives of this info session, of this information workshop. Our intention, our aim is to inform the community on the provisions of the upcoming call for design enablement teams. Design enablement teams being an essential part of the design platform of the CHIPS for Europe initiative. This workshop actually fits, as I already mentioned, in a series of preceding consultation and information workshops on the design platform and reflects community's feedback received so far from those workshops. And as the call has been announced within the work program, and recently the call text has been updated in the work program of the CHIPS, of the multi-annual work program of the CHIPS Joint Undertaking. Today, we give you some more insights on this particular call. So the agenda is as follows. This is the welcome that I'm just giving. I will also give a short introduction just to set up the scene, to involve the audience into the a design platform matter. Then we will have Romano Hofman from IMEC, who is actually the coordinator, the leader of the platform coordination team that has been appointed to coordinate the design platform itself. Next presentation will be given by David Servat from CEA, who will focus on design enablement teams in particular. And then I will complete the presentation part of this workshop with some specifics on the call, more specifically budget, calendar, eligibility, evaluation, etc. Finally, we will have also something like half an hour, and excuse me for this mistake, it's not 15 minutes, we should have something like half an hour for question and answers, as well as for some conclusive discussions. Let me start with some introductions. What is CHIPS Joint Undertaking? As this workshop is open, although most of you should know about us, I still presume that there could be people who are not very well aware what the CHIPS Joint Undertaking is. So we are a public-private partnership between public authorities and industry with the intent to bring project results closer to the market. So we are an industrial program, we are industrial public-private partnership, industrially oriented. Joint undertakings themselves are a specific type of institutionalized public-private partnerships with their own legal identity, their own governments, their own budget, etc. The CHIPS Joint Undertaking itself is such a joint undertaking, a specific type of public-private partnership. And it was established in September 2023 in an amendment to the so-called Single Basic Act to implement the first pillar of the CHIPS Act and to continue the activities of its predecessors preceding joint undertakings, which were mostly involved in the field of electronic components and systems. So, as I have mentioned, Pillar 1 of the CHIPS Act, of the European CHIPS Act, it actually concerns the Chips for Europe initiative, which deals with infrastructure building in synergy with the EU's research programs, and also has an important aim to support startups and SMEs. Now, let me dive a bit into the structure or the composition of the Chips for Europe initiative. And here you can see the central part of it are the so-called pilot lines. These are initiatives, these are large initiatives which support advanced technologies in the field of electronic components and systems. Those pilot lines, in a sense, would also need tools in order to design for them. And it's not only for the pilot lines, as most of you have a background in chip design. You recognize how important is the use and the proper use of design tools. So actually, the aim of design platform, we will see a bit later in more detail, is indeed to support the chip design, and not only, of course, for the pilot lines that are displayed here, but also for other advanced technologies in order to make Europe's chip industry stronger and more competitive globally. The design platform itself consists of two main components. There is a so-called platform coordination team I have already mentioned. It is actually has been already awarded, appointed. There are certain still negotiations going on, but the platform coordination team is already operational, which is actually defined and put together within the Decide consortium, which was evaluated, the proposal of which was evaluated and awarded in call for the specific call for platform coordination team in 2024. Another part are design enablement services. This is another part of design platform, which will be mainly facilitated by so-called design enablement teams, and this will be the subject of today's workshop. Just to mention also that within this global picture, we also have competence centers which are expected to work closely together with the design platform, but also with the pilot lines. They are mostly allocated on so-called, let me call it like this, national principle. Many grants have been already awarded in call 2024. Few more competence centers have been evaluated, and we are expected to get grants also within a separate call for 2025. And I would like also to mention that 5 of the pilot lines that were envisioned and for which we had established specific calls have been already awarded. We are currently working also on a quantum pilot line. So without losing more time, I will now introduce you to the next speakers, and the first one will be Roman Hoffman from IMEC, who will provide more details on the mission and the task of the platform coordination team. So, Romano, we can see your initial slide already, so the floor is yours.
Do you see it full screen or not?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, good. Yeah, thanks, Jorgi. So I'm Roman Hoofman. I'm leading the platform coordination team of the design platform. So as Jorgi said, we are the Decide consortium. And in this presentation, I will zoom in a bit more on what the design platform and the platform coordination team are. And then my colleague from CEA, David will continue on explaining more on the design enablement teams and what is expected from them. So first, the design platform, a general overview. So this slide you saw previously, it's a kind of different slide because it's an older slide than the one of Jorgi, what he showed. So you see the same type of things, but so you see the positioning of the design platform. And what we need to do is really to make a kind of cloud-based platform where you have all the facilities, so EDA tools, IP, services available for making a chip in a proper and in a more, I would say, faster way. So to really bring Europe ahead of where we are now globally.
Excuse
So
me,
what are
Roman.
Yes.
Something, a bit trivial, but I forgot to mention that this session is recorded. So if anyone minds to be recorded, this is the time to react. Sorry for this.
I don't mind, but you knew already, I think. Yeah, good. So these are the objectives set by the European Commission before the call was out for the PCT, and so this is what we try to aim for with the design platform. So very important, we want to lower the barrier for IC design, in particular for advanced technologies, but not excluding. I mean, we also want to have more mature technologies still, because like for some applications, like healthcare, it's still, of course, good enough to use 0.18 technology. We also want to foster collaborations among EU stakeholders. So this could be between academics and industry, for instance. We want to support the development of IC design skills by offering training and support services through a network of competence centers. So we really see also a very close relation with the competence centers. We want to integrate also access to the pilot lines and fabs. So these are mostly foundries for early prototyping. And then finally, we want to leverage and build upon existing platforms and or initiatives. So one of the platforms where we foresee a very close collaboration with is Europractice. Then we, as a whole, want really to develop a cloud-based design infrastructure where you can find the design tools, the kits, so these are the PDKs, the design flows, IP libraries, and support services, and we want to make them easy available to all industry in Europe, but with a specific focus on the startup community. So this is also here what you will see. So what is the need for startups and SMEs? And as Jorgi said in his introduction, we are discussing already for a bit more than 2 years on how we want to establish this design platform. And this is actually shown here in the picture. So in the picture you see a snapshot that was taken from also kind of consultation webinar that we organized with the European Commission in November 2022. So it's more than 2 years ago. And you see the logos of some of the startups that are now quite, I would say, predominant in the European landscape or even the global landscape. So you see on the left Accelerate AI and Cyprol from France, and Accelerate AI from the Netherlands. So you see that startups can be very successful in Europe, also on the domain of IC design. But we need to make them their life easier by making easy access to design tools and IP, and of course the technologies in which they will fabricate their chip. We have to make their life easier in the installation and maintenance of the design flows, in particular when it concerns multi-vendor flows. So that means, for instance, Cadence and Siemens EDA combined. The availability of people and with the right skills, of course, is very important. We should try to get more designers into Europe. And then finally, we also need to facilitate the route to capital, so to funding. So in the end, this all should lead to a lower risk, a lower time to market, and maximize their success rate. That's the goal in a nutshell for the design platform. So this is the concept. So here we zoom in a bit deeper on how the design platform should look like. So you see the same terms coming back as I showed on the first slide. So you see users on the left. where I said already that the focus is from the top to the bottom. So the most focus is on startups, then SMEs, then system companies, and then IDMs. And we put them first in contact with either the design enablement teams or the competence centers. And then they merge into, I would say, the central platform, because there they can find resources. So the resources that you can find there are design tools and IP, but in some cases also PDKs. That could be open source PDKs, which will be available on the central cloud. The proprietary PDKs will be provided by the DATs, but David will go in much more detail on that. So in all, this central platform will set up an enabling design environment. And then again, you will see that there is the link with the pilot lines and of course the mature foundries like TSMC, Global Foundries, XFAB and others. And then on the top, you see that the EDA and IP providers are putting their inputs in, so that tools and IP such that they can be used by the wider community. This is a high-level overview of how we see the design platform. So as was said in the introduction presentation, the platform coordination team is in place. So you don't need to, there's a mistake on my slide. It's not the scope of the call. That was the previous call when we applied for the PCT. So of course the scope of this webinar is on the bottom, is the DATs. So we will explain more how the DATs, what is expected from them, and how they interface with the users. So you see from bottom to top, the users, they interface with the DATs, and the DATs are, you could say, under the control of the platform coordination team, because the platform coordination team, for instance, has to look to eligibility of users in the platform. So what is the role of the central platform? So we need to coordinate overall the design platform. We link to the other infrastructure elements like the pilot lines and the competence centers. We are negotiating framework agreements with EDA vendors, but also with IP vendors as we speak. So they are not in place, but I foresee that we hopefully will have first announcements in Q3 with the first vendors. Then a definition of a common look and feel over the different design enablement teams, so that if a user comes in DAT1, that it's not completely different from DAT2, but of course the offer itself will be different. So to take an example, DAT1 could be TSMC and DAT2 could be Global Foundries. So in the end, the DATs need to provide a distributed service network so that users can really find all the technologies they want to design in. And that's also the goal. But again, David will explain more on that in his presentation. If you then zoom in on a conceptual architecture of the platform, so you see a user on the left, and we expect that the user can apply for grants, provided that the user is a startup, from EU funding. So there will be grants provided for offsetting the cost of EDA and IP. But it's also foreseen that the participating states will put some money on the table for fabrication and design services. So then the user goes to the PCT and I would say contacts the catalog and the team to what is the best choice for his need. And the best choice means tools, so design tools. It means IP, and it also means which technology, so which PDK he will design in. And then if he has made that choice, he can typically also make a choice of the DAT. In some cases, the choice could also come from the bottom, so that the DAT is in contact with a user, but then still the link will be made by the PCT, because remember that, of course, the startup can apply for a grant. And what he finds in the entire platform are this, I would say, EDA agreements and IPs, so which are made available under a framework agreement. So every user will have the same type of license, depending on their need, of course, and that can be offset by funding, as I explained, that will be made available later on. And then you see that, of course, there will be separate client agreements made between the EDA vendor, IP vendor, and the user. If you now look to the different types of users, so in our project plan, we have defined 3 levels, or 4 levels actually, I have to say. So level 0, which is not on this slide, is actually a user who is orienting himself. So he doesn't really know yet how to start, and they will receive initial training in open source sandbox environments, for instance, and also some other training materials so that they can uplift, I would say, their expertise, and that they also will be able to make a better choice of which technology, tools, and IP they need to choose from. Once that is done, they go to level 1. Then we call that they are in the incubation phase. These are companies that have not raised a lot of capital yet, so typically below $500,000 or so. And then they are eligible for design tool licenses at nominal fee. This is something that we have already in place in Europe practice for Cadence. And under the design platform, we hope to extend that also to all other EDA vendors, such that we have many level 1 users who can start experimenting, I would say, with early design tools. Then once they grow, so when they have raised more money, so let's say they have raised 2 million, then they come automatically in the level 2 phase, and then they need to have to apply for a kind of commercial or pre-negotiated design tool license or IP license, but then they can apply also for this grant to offset the cost for that. So that you see that in the middle, so there will be expert evaluation, and then of course some of the startups will be selected for funding. And then they move to level 3, so that's the commercial phase. In that phase, there is no EU funding available anymore, but they can still make use of the design platform as a whole as a design environment. And of course, they can also stay with the design enablement team of their choice. So that's the route that we foresee from level 0, from very, very early startup to, I would say, commercial production. Then the PCT. So let's, as said in the introduction presentation, the Design Consortium has been selected. We are not going to use this brand for the design platform, so we are working on a brand and a logo, etc. So that will be announced very soon. So the Design Consortium is the following. So IMEC is the coordinator. And then we have 11 other partners who have all acquired high experience in IC design, not only electronic ICs, but also photonics, quantum, MEMS, etc. Because we want to cover as large possible domain for IC design. So going top to bottom, so we have Fraunhofer, and there are 2 entities involved. So it's Fraunhofer in Erlangen and the Fraunhofer office in Berlin. Then you have TU Eindhoven, and this is mostly JEPIX in Eindhoven. So this is the team focusing on silicon photonics. Then CEA in Grenoble, so David will present after me. Then INL in Braga, CSIC, this is CNM in Sevilla and Barcelona. Then moving to the left, you have Tampere University. Then IHP in Frankfurt am Oder, AGH in Krakow, and then the Technical University of Czech Republic in Prague, Silicon Austria Labs, and CHIPS IT. It's a rather new organization who is coordinating, I would say, most of the semiconductor activities in Italy. So this consortium is the platform coordination team, and we are there to bring this to a success for you and for Europe as a whole. So help us to achieve this goal. To achieve the overall goal, we have set a few objectives, and this is important that I want to share them with you. So first of all, we want to establish low barrier access for startups and SMEs to EDA tools and IP. And we want to do this by providing a user-centric service framework so that we have an efficient access across Europe. But the focus is here again on startups and SMEs. So when it is a larger company, EDA tools and IP, it will be through commercial contracts with the vendors. Number 2 is to develop and implement a robust framework and for selecting and integrating design enablement teams. This is the topic of this webinar. to see a bit more what is expected from these design enablement teams, and also for you to ask questions, of course, on if you are intending to become a design enablement team, and if there are still unclarities, then this is the place to ask them. Setting up and maintaining a central cloud service, that's the third objective. And here we oversee specification requirements for the procurement and integrating key components of the design platform. Because the central cloud platform will not be made by the consortium as such, so there will be a tender for a commercial company to set up this platform, and we are currently working on the specifications and the requirements document to be sent out once I would say the first steps have been concluded. Objective number 4 is to select and integrate open source EDA tools and services. This is in the central platform, so we foresee that you can first of all get those tools and use them, but we will also create open source sandbox environments so that you can experiment with those tools, and in the end that those tools can be matured further. Now, objective number 5 is on training. So we want, together with the competence centers, set up comprehensive training and also user support, such that we can uplift the competences and capabilities of the designers in Europe. Then there are 4 more objectives. So one is on quality of service. So we want to set up a framework not only to monitor the quality of service of the central platform, but more importantly, maybe also the quality of service of the DATs, such that the users are satisfied and that they get, I would say, to the fastest route to error-free designs. Number 7 is to develop and implement sustainable business models so that we can continue the design platform and ensure long-term viability of the platform. So we don't want to kill it after 4 years. We really want to make this a long-term endeavor such that the European industry can benefit from this. Then, of course, we are not doing this alone, so we need strategic synergies between other EU initiatives, not only the competence centers, but also the pilot lines, the network of competence centers. And of course, we are in an international environment, so we also want to interact with semiconductor programs outside of the EU, for instance, in the UK, and even though now it seems difficult, also with US and other regions. And then the last objective is based on dissemination and communication. So like I said, we are now currently working quite hard on a brand, logo, coloring, etc. So we hope to launch either by the end of the month or early in May a first version of the website, LinkedIn page, and etc. So keep you posted there. Then the concept of the design platform, so it's based on 5 pillars. So I mentioned already central cloud a few times. So this is you could call it a central place where you will find the resources, the marketplace, and the initial playground, you could call it, that will help fabless companies to innovate and grow. Then pillar 2 is a training program where we will enhance the company's skills. Pillar 3 is this network of design enablement teams, so more about that in the presentation after me. Pillar 4 is the procurement of the central EDA tools and IP, and it's not procurement, it's more negotiating standard framework agreements such that those EDA tools and IP become affordable and available for users across Europe. And then the last one is an important one. We will implement different levels of users to guide fabless companies throughout their journey. So this is a bit the level 0 to level 3, as I explained. These are the implementation phases. So we are currently in the red phase. So that's the definition phase, or in some cases, negotiation phase. So as Jorgi said, we are still negotiating the contracts with the chip GU, but we are closely getting there. We are also negotiating the framework agreements with the EDA and IP vendors. So there we also hope to have first announcements by Q3 on maybe the level 1 contracts. And then, of course, we are also defining how we want to set up the central cloud. So that will be the procurement that needs to be done. So you see that there in the blue arrow on the top, first one. And then we aim to launch the PCT cloud somewhere in month 19. So that will be in the summer of next year. Yeah, unless it slips and it will be a bit later. But important to say, we believe that part of the design platform will be already operational because to a large extent, many things will happen through the design enablement teams. So you see that the first call is planned, yeah, somewhere in the coming months. More information will probably come from Jorgi in his presentation at the end. And then we have to integrate those design enablement teams into the platform. And then, of course, they are fully operational when the platform is also operational, but still, first users we expect to come in already, yeah, maybe early next year, as you see here at the bottom. So this is the current phase where we are now. Then maybe a bit on the different roles of the PCT and the DET. So here you see at the bottom the different levels of users. So level 0 to level 1, level 2, level 3. So going from ideation, proof of concept, prototyping, and product to volume. So you see that the marketplace of the design platform is available for everyone. That's will be advertised on the website, and everyone can benefit from that. If you look to design IP repositories, this will be mostly, I would say, available for level 1 and level 2, because of course in level 0 it's not so much of a use yet. Then the open source sandbox environments for training will be especially useful for level 0 and level 1. Then tutorial videos will be level 0, but then we will bring advanced training material available together with the competence center. So that's very important to mention, mostly for level 1, but also I would say extending into level 2. And then open source based design tools. Of course, you could foresee when open source becomes much more mature that it moves over the entire flow. But we believe, since most people still use commercial licenses, that we will need to standardize license agreements here. So we will have two different types. So you have the proof of concept licenses, which are at nominal fee made available for level 1 users. And then for level 2 users, you will have the more, you could call it commercial licenses. They are not really commercial because you cannot really bring your product on the market yet, but you can get an acceleration grant. And then you move into level 3 where you go to full production. And then we foresee that the venture capital environment will start to play a role. Then for fabrication, so first we foresee pathfinding, so meaning people are not really making silicon yet, but they are experimenting with their design flows. But then in level 1, you get already the first MPW, so multi-project wafers. And then we foresee that in level 2, you probably go to private shuttles. And then the last one on support. So support will also take place through all the entire, I would say, journey of the user. So in the early phase, it's more orienting and mentoring through the PCT mostly. Then design support will take place through the DETs. And of course, also the supply chain can be managed by a DET once the company is into production. We are not alone in this journey, so we have quite some stakeholders and supporters. The ones on top are the ones, I would say, the supply chain for photonics. The one at the bottom are the ones representing more the electronics domain. So you see that I have many people on our side. And again, together we want to grow Europe, and that's the overall goal. This is just a snapshot of some logos. I mean, if your logo is not there, don't be offended. We, of course, want to work with every one of you because we need every one of you to make this to a success. That concludes my talk. Questions are for the end. So I suggest that we move to David. Thank you.
Indeed. Thank you, Romano. David, can you confirm that you can share your slides?
Yeah, I'm going to try that. Otherwise, I think you have.
I have a backup here.
I'm just trying to see, share. So please confirm that you can see the slides.
Yes, yes, I can at least. I believe the rest too. Go ahead. Floor is
Okay.
yours.
Great. So I'm David Server. I'm from CEA list. I'm part of the Decide consortium and actually working as a work package leader. So in this presentation, we want to try to shed light on the role, the mission of a DET that we've been talking about already in the previous presentation, and the expectations that we have from the design platform perspective. So our hope is that it will give a clearer picture for potential candidates to prepare their proposals for the forthcoming call. Of course, the details of the call itself will be covered afterwards by the GU and the European Commission. So essentially, I want to shed light on three main parts in this presentation. What is a DET? What are the DET users and the expectations for the DET candidates? So first of all, the DET overview. So as Romano already mentioned, the point is that for us, the DETs, let's say, play a key role in the design platform. They are, in essence, I would say, the operational entities of the platform that work directly with our targets. And what is our targets? The companies that are in need for help to transform ideas into chips prototypes. So the initiative relies on the construction of a network of DETs that will offer a portfolio of technical and operational services for those companies to help them in their journey. And the DETs themselves will be typically a single entity with track record in the field or a consortium of entities to enable and to cover an extended range of the supply chain, meaning an association with several stakeholders that provide additional services that are in link with the help companies in their chip design journey. So, as already said, the network of DETs together with the PCTs, their aim is to reinforce, let's say, the European semiconductor network with a set of competences and support that are readily available to companies that are new in the field and that are reluctant for the time being to engage in this journey because of two main barriers, I would say. The first barrier typically is a technical one. It's to overcome the complexity of designing leading edge chips. And this is really tough, we know, especially for startups and for SMEs that do not have the needed competence nor the experience with the tools and technologies involved. So that's the key aspect. The DETs have to bring this expertise in the tools, in the setting up of a suitable design environment for the chips. And the second part, of course, is the cost, because all this is very costly. And usually this is a major drawback for our European companies. So this was hinted in the previous presentation. The design platform is currently negotiating with major tool vendors to have them on board. So together, being part of the initiatives by signing agreements for negotiated lower prices, which will be accessible to DET clients. So that means that together, this will, in principle, accelerate the journey for companies in their chip design. And what we hope is that it will bring more and more customers to the network for the benefit of DETs and European companies in the field and in lots of domains. So the DET services can be arranged into three main pillars. So there is a cloud-based design platform, there are services for expertise and support, and there is an established link towards the rest of the supply chain. So what we mean by that is a link typically to foundries and OSAT, so that to be able to cover the whole range of the chip design journey. So it's important that the DETs use a cloud-based design environment so that a lot of companies will be reached and can achieve chip design either from their premises, from a cloud-based. This is a new way of dealing with things and accelerating the use of those tools. So this is a key aspect of the DET providing services. If we go a little bit further into the cloud-based design services, so this encompasses several things. So in essence, to be able to provide a secure and scalable infrastructure that provide you with the right, provide the users, the companies with the right design flow that matches the need of a company. So typically, this means that you have to select the right resource and to be able to manage this resource, meaning PDKs, EDAs, IP resources. They have to be able to assess and provide a silicon-proven design flow and offer a very tight support and maintenance for their customer. This is really key because, as you recall, the main target for us, SMEs and startups, are the ones that for which time is really of essence. So we need to be responsive to their problems, and we expect DET to provide services that are in match with this challenge. So if we go there in the slide, which is maybe a little bit complex, but I guess most of the audience is familiar with those different steps. This covers the whole range from defining a system architecture to defining the final tests and assembly, testing, and packaging a chip that will be delivered in the end. So what we expect is that we expect the DETs to be able to provide services that cover all those different steps that are involved in the process, so that we accelerate and get a fast track from idea to prototype. This is key. We keep repeating ourselves there, but this is the main goal of the initiatives. And we know that there are lots of experienced entities in the field in Europe, and we want them to be part of this initiative so that this is or those services are fully integrated and benefit for a wider range of customers. So the idea is that most of the companies are not able to navigate this cheap journey on their own, because this is very, they don't have probably the resources or the experience. They don't have money or human resources to set up chip design business units, for instance. And a lot of companies do not even start their journey. So we want them to be attracted and be conducted through the initial parts of pathfinding services to be able to choose the right level of choose the right IPs that fit their project, as well as providing and selecting the correct EDA tools that match the needs for a particular project, and then help them achieve smoothly the different steps involved until you package your chip and then you have them sent to fabrication. So this is why we want to have experienced entities to set up as DETs to be able, and so that what we mean by that, with a proven record of delivering services in this kind of services, so that the companies that will work together with the DETs not only start a journey but go all the way to the end with success. This is the key for our project. So now let me switch to the DET users. So the DET users, there is no real restriction on who can access the DET services. We, for instance, large companies can access the DET services, research company as well, a research community, let's say, entities can access the DET services, of course. But the focus of our initiatives are startups and SMEs. And what we mean by that is that those are the, let's say, the ones that are in clear need for support, and the clear need on they lack resources and they lack time, they need to be accelerated. And this is why the mechanisms to fund their activities, to fund the projects, will be only available to startups and SMEs. And this, but of course, the DETs will provide a portfolio of services, and those services, of course, can be accessed to anyone. Right. Then, in this slide, we wanted to present a little bit the interaction with the user coming to the design platform and with a particular need, and how let's say, a grant will be provided if they are eligible. What is the process? So the precise process is, I must say, still in the making, because it depends on the different companies, different user levels, as hinted by Romano in this presentation. But typically, if a user comes to the design platform, they will get some information so that they will be assessed as whether they are eligible or not, and they will be invited to provide a project definition. And depending on the interest of this project definition, there will be let's say, a broadcast call, if you will, or a kind of procurement process to find out the relevant DETs. If we are in the case of a customer that comes without established link with the DETs, for instance. So this is the focus of this slide. And then after an application selection of the project, the companies may be given a grant, and this grant will cover part of the cost of the project. So essentially, what we're talking about here are the costs for the licenses that are involved in the cheap design. This is, I'm talking about the the GU and European Commission money. As Romano mentioned, there might be additional grants provided by national authorities that would cover extra parts of the cost of the project execution. So in essence, this will lower the price of a particular project, provided that this project is made by a DET that has been selected in the call that we are talking about in this webinar. So in practical terms, here in this slide, we wanted to show how a company actually executes a project thanks to its link to a DET. So the DET typically, so here we have the different stakeholders. In fact, the yellow part hints at the available elements coming from the PCT, in fact. So a DET typically will have to provide a customized design environment that fits the user project needs. And for this, they will have to operate a selection of IPs, of tools, of PDKs, etc., that fit for the purpose of the user project. And once that is established, the user, in fact, will benefit from the standard, established standard agreements of IPs, of PDKs, of EDAs that are available at the level of the PCT. So in fact, the user will sign agreement with the vendors of those assets, PDKs, EDA, IPs. So the terms of the licenses will evolve through the let's say, the journey or the evolution of the company itself. Okay, but for the project, this will grant us a negotiated and typically a lower price of those different key elements that come into the design environment and the design at hand that will be made by the DETs through their local cloud instances that is depicted with the user project execution. So in essence, what that means is that all the different stakeholders here will benefit from that. The vendors will benefit from having extra customers. The users will benefit from lower prices. The DETs will be provided with extra customers and subsidized, for some of them, subsidized customers that will bring them design projects in their own business. All right. So now let me wrap up with some expectations that we have for the DET candidates. So once again, a DET can be a single entity or a consortium composed of multiple entities. And those entities can be private or public. That's not a problem, but they have to be all legally established within the territory of the European CHIPS EU participating states, of course. Then we have listed here the scope of services. Again, for the record, so cloud service capacity, end-to-end industrial services to design, prototype, and testing, access to industrial technologies or pilot lines. This is really of high value because in the end, what we want is that this network of PCT plus DETs integrates seamlessly with the coming up pilot lines in the whole European landscape. The key part of the DETs is to be able to provide a secured local cloud system, which will be connected to the central cloud of the design platform, to provide access to the design platform assets that were mentioned previously, meaning training, open source elements, assets, tools, whatever, as well as report back on their activities to the central cloud platform. Why is this important? Because we want to have a commitment of the DET networks to the initiative and be able to monitor the overall activity of the initiative so that we can correct it, enhance some things, and in the course of the project, let's have in mind that this is a long-term project that we are actually initiating right now. Let me mention that the local cloud infrastructure may be outsourced to a cloud provider, but the DET will retain full liability because this is, this is important for the trustworthy relationship between users and the platform, and trustworthiness is really key in those projects that are typically, involve a lot of money, a lot of efforts, and that are key for the success of startups, for instance. The credibility. We want, and underlining once again, established chip design ecosystem entity that can support end-to-end flow from idea to prototype and shipment to fabrication. And with a proven track record. So that is really key for the candidate. Another key aspect that is illustrated, so I have two final slides that illustrate some of the elements that are mentioned in the call text. So the first one is really key, which are the key technologies that we have in mind? Well, what we want is that the DETs collectively are able to answer the whole range of technologies, coming from CMOS bulk to FD-SOI and FinFET to more than more technologies. So typically photonics, quantum, all the advanced packaging, etc., to name a few. So this is the key aspect. So of course, there are more standard technologies, but there are also more advanced. We want to cover all the whole range. So what we want typically is that a DET candidate is, explicitly mention what are the key technologies they want to address and how is the link to the industrial semiconductor companies in general, meaning links to foundry, OSAT, so that once again, the prototype goes all the way to fabrication. And of course, what we want is the commitment to engage into the link with the European pilot lines. And so that this is part of the equation of the candidate and the proposals that will be delivered by candidates. Then the final slide is just a high-level illustration of the DET cloud instance. And for the record, it's just mentioning here that we want to establish We want the DETs to establish secure connection from their users, startup, SMEs, or large entities, of course, and the PCTs there, so that once again you have DET will have access to open source tools and elements through the sandboxes provided, training, and also will provide a bit of user project monitoring, of course, providing filtering and etc. So this is really important, those two secure connection aspects. And internally, of course, the DET will have to provide all the resources to be able to manage licenser servers, EDA tools use, computational capabilities, data storage capacity, as well as design sign-off flow. And this high-level illustration will also be present in the call text. And with this, I think I have finished my presentation. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you, David. Now it's my turn. Let me share my next presentation. I hope you can see it. Everyone can see it.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So back now to some call specificities. I will provide a bit more details on the call itself. As I was trying to follow the chat, there were some questions there which I'll try to answer now. In my introduction, I mentioned that this call has been envisioned in the work program and has been already advertised in the work program as early as February, though the call text there was not final, it was provisional. As of 2 days, we have the final text approved by the governing board of the CHIPS JU, and it will be soon made available on our website. So here, therefore, I'm going through some certain clarifications that have been added in that text, including specific deadlines, budget, the calendar as a whole, something I was mentioned about eligibility and about the evaluation. So what is the scope of this call? It is again, part of the design platform, which is a hub of services to support European companies, in particular engaged in chip design. Itself, the design platform is implemented via 2 main classes of entities, which were just introduced. It is the platform coordination team and the design enablement team. I believe it was already clear from the preceding presentations that the platform coordination team and the design enablement team will collaborate to design and implement the overarching technical implementation of the platform, about including the design interfaces with the distributed services, as well as will ensure the overall neutrality of the platform itself. So the scope of this particular call is to select a number of design enablement teams that will be collaborating with the, of course, on one side with the platform coordination team, but then there will be also the immediate interface to customers and SMEs and startups in particular. The expected outcomes of this call are to invite to appoint certain number of design enablement teams, which should cover certain core functions enlisted here. These functions in more detail can be, of course, found into the call text itself. So first, the design enablement teams should enable to facilitate deployment of electronic design automation tools on the cloud. They will be supposed to manage secure cloud instances instances, facilitating access to the design tools and the simulation environments which are relevant for a particular design. And it is important that those cloud services shall comply with robust cybersecurity requirements. A second core function to be covered by a DET is a design flow support and customization. The main task would be to assist users in setting up and customizing their design environments and flow. The third function, core function, is application engineering. The design enablement team should offer dedicated application engineering support and addressing specific user needs and challenges, in particular when there is certain expertise missing into the customers. Fourth, it is the DETs should provide access to process design kits. Users should have this access to the necessary this PDKs and ADKs for their design projects. And this includes, of course, well-established technologies as well as in the future PDKs of the pilot lines. Fifth core functionality to be covered by the DETs is to provide design expertise, to provide users with access to the necessary expertise for the specific design projects, again, when such expertise is missing within the customer, in particular in the SMEs and startups, where, as we know, expertise could be in deficit. Sixth point to be covered, sixth function by the DET, is prototyping and fabrication services. So the DETs should facilitate for prototyping and fabrication, including packaging and testing. So covering basically almost the full design chain, design flow. Then a few specificities about the call. The indicative budget of this call is 5 million. It's EU funding only. The funding is supported by the Digital Europe program, so it's under Digital Europe budget. The expected contribution per project is about 500,000. So that means that we can roughly support 5 design enablement teams at this 10 design enablement teams at this point. And the type of action will be coordination and support action. It will be one-stage call, so it will assume a full project proposal submission in one stage. There are certain exceptional eligibility conditions here that must be mentioned, and this is that there will be participation restrictions for the protection of the European digital infrastructure, communication and information systems and related supply chains. What that is mean? This means that legal entities that are established in the Union or the European Economic Area countries but are controlled from third countries may only participate on certain conditions, and these conditions are that they could guarantee the protection of the essential security interests of the Union and the member states. And they should also be able to ensure the protection of classified document information. So this is, in a sense, a kind of restricted call. Then there are certain page limits and reimbursement rates, which are included into the call text. We try to keep the proposals concise, lean, but yet to be able to provide sufficient details for evaluation. So for the 3 different sections of the proposal, which are standard for the Digital Europe program, there we are expecting in total no more than 60 pages. Having for the first chapter for relevance 10 pages, implementation 40 pages, and for impact 10 additional pages. It is possible that you submit a proposal with more pages. Those proposals will be still admissible, but they will be evaluated up to the page limit stipulated into the call text and displayed here. So any pages in excess of those limits will not be considered during the evaluation, and the experts will be instructed not to take them into account in their evaluation sheets. The only eligible costs will be those which are directly related to the setup and integration of the DET cloud services into the design platform. So this is the only eligible cost that will be accepted. As I mentioned in the previous slide, there will be only EU funding, which will be 100% for all types of beneficiaries, participating beneficiaries, being for-profit SMEs, for-profit non-SMEs, and also universities or other not-for-profit organizations. All will be funded with 100% funding rate. Regarding the evaluation criteria, they are also following the Digital Europe program rules, and the criteria are relevance, implementation, and impact. All of them have equal weight. The range per criteria will be from 0 to 5 points. In total, there will be 15 points per proposal, with thresholds applying 3 points for each of the criteria and 10 points for the total. What is our timeline? The call will open on 4th of June. Formally will open, but as I said, the text is already there. And you can already visit the call text and the work program, and you can start actually the preparation. No need to wait for the call formal opening. Call closes on the 30th of July, in the middle of the summer. May not be very convenient for some of you, but I think from now you have sufficient time to prepare your proposals in advance. The evaluation will take place in September, the first half of September 2025. By evaluation, I mean meeting of the experts for the panel and for the final ranking. Otherwise, evaluation will start immediately after the call closes. The funding decision will be taken somewhere in October, and then the grant agreement preparation with the awarded proposals will start in the October-November timeframe. The starting activities of the Design Enablement Teams, the starting date of their activities could be is advised to be as soon as possible. And here is also another view of the timeline. So as of today, you can start the preparation of your proposals. Although the formal opening of the call will be only on 4th of June, as there are certain administrative steps that have to be made to configure the IT systems of the Commission to accept proposals. So that concludes my discussion, my presentation on the administrative part of the call. Now the floor is open for your questions. I saw already into the chat here that there are some more detailed questions. So we'll try to answer as many as possible today here, but still feel free to send your questions to our Cole's email address, which is also displayed here. And with that, I think we can open the discussion for questions and answers.
There are a few people with hands up. Maybe we should allow them to ask the question.
Yes, and
I don't know, Andrea, if you can.
I think it's Andrea who has the control. I cannot myself. So Andrea, maybe you can follow the.
And also there are lots of questions.
Participants can unmute themselves now.
Okay.
Yeah, Jakob is the first one. You can just follow the hands. They are numbered.
Thank you. I have actually like 5 questions because my first question is because I already started to train some people on open EDA tools, and I was about to run efabless tiny tape out and so on, but to my great disappointment, I seen that they take down this project. Do you have any knowledge what happened with this project? And if there are
sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, efabless is an American company, so it's not a project. They basically didn't receive continuous funding anymore, so they failed actually to raise continuing funding, so they are bankrupt. Let's call it like that.
Okay.
That happened.
Okay, but I understand that the idea is to have similar project as we've seen with this efabless or tiny tape out. Yes.
Yeah, but efabless tiny tape out is not really focusing on full commercial. It's more on bringing more people into IC design. So I think you need to see both in parallel. What we try to achieve here with the design platform is really to stimulate companies to go quickly to commercial product. The efabless tiny tape out was a bit the stage before, as to get more like hobbyists, academics, and make the threshold very low for them to make a very simple design. Of course, with a simple design, you're not going to bring it to the market. So I would say these two things are complementary. I'm not saying that something like that in the future should not be part of the design platform. That probably should be the part, but I see it more on the domain of Euro practice and not so much on the design platform.
Okay, so also my second question is about intellectual property. Who will carry the responsibility if there be some IP infringement? So I mean, somebody would put their design, and then someone from United States or China would say, I have like patent for it. And what if the patent is only for American market, it's not on European market?
Yeah. Well, I don't know what kind of IP you mean. So if you mean commercial IP that is used by a designer and then integrated into his design, or when the company makes a design and then another company claims that IP of them is used, I would say the responsible is the one who's using or creating the design. So in this case, the startup.
So the user would be okay. And my last question is, aren't you afraid that you will get the licensing from the external company out of European Union, like Synopsys, and then with one White House president sign with Sharpie, we can get locked of the license? That's a big threat.
I don't know. I cannot look into the future.
Yeah, but maybe there would be a point to work with European-based company like Siemens or IMAC to deliver or to make this EDA software that will be sure that we will never lose the license, or there be some tariffs on the license. So it's hard to run your business if you don't know what would be tomorrow.
Yeah, I answered the question already a bit in the chat, or the question of Peter Dumont. So we intend to sign framework agreements with all EDA vendors that are there. So including, of course, and if we can even, I would say, primarily EU-based EDA companies, and not only in electronic ICs, but also photonics, quantum, MEMS, the whole thing.
Thanks.
Okay. next. Yeah. I see still hand of Edmund up. So
I think, thank you. So I have also two questions. One of them is quite short, I guess. So you said that after the selection phase, the specific agreements for the commercial phase and also for the, I don't know, last pre-commercial phase is like those conditions are negotiated between the vendors and the entities that go through the process. And you mentioned that it will still somehow be cheaper. And I think I asked this question in previous workshops already a few times, but what is the mechanism? How does it become cheaper? And how do you still have access to those negotiations?
Well, for level 3, I didn't say that it will be cheaper. Yeah, level 3 is really the full commercial license. So that I am assuming it will be the same price as you will have to pay now if you are bringing your product on the market. The level 2 will be cheaper because there is a EU grant as to offset the cost. Yeah, so that's the basically what we can promise.
Okay, thank you. And the second question is, you said that the PCT platform will be implemented by a commercial partner. Can you be more specific on that? Which company is that? How is it selected?
Yeah, it's a public tender, so we will do procurement. The procurement will be done by the CHIPS EU, but we come up with all the specifications and the requirements. So we are now busy, I would say, with making the entire document. But since it is an open tender, in principle, all companies in the EU can apply for it. Yeah. So there are no candidates there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
okay. So Edmund, may I ask you to put your hand down now? And
no, Edmund is not. He still has to go. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there was a change. No. Sorry.
Yeah. No, Edmund, we didn't have yet.
No, then Edmund, please go ahead because you were number one. Then.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So there was the slide for the platform coordination team, role of platform coordination team, and there's the level 0 ideation, level 1 proof of concept, and there you have in yellow the open source EDA and IP are based in yellow, and the open source sandbox. And those cover only level 0 and level 1. So,
yeah, correct. Yeah.
So my question is, what does the platform coordination team contribute and do to this open source sandbox? And my second question is, if a design enablement team would only provide open source EDA tool support, would that be sufficient? Or does a design enablement team always have to support proprietary tools for level 2?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So maybe first on the PCT. I said in my presentation, indeed, it looks like it is very small, so only focusing on level 0 and level 1. But I said, as open source will mature further, we of course expect that those will be, well, through the whole level flow of the user. So even going to commercial. I believe that we are getting close, but we are not there yet. There is another CHIPS EU call on open source open now. So yeah, that's the reason why they want to address this, right? To bring open source also to a higher maturity level. And then for the DET, yeah, maybe David, I don't want to answer all questions. I also want to give the floor to David. So maybe you can give your opinion on that.
Yeah, I think it's probably difficult, I think, for a DET to specialize only on open source support. I mean, of course, in the end, it all comes down to the expertise and confidence in the project that is provided by the DETs. You know, I mean, what is hinted at in the the DET candidate is that they want to run a business. They have to be sustainable. So if you are able to provide I would say some relevant business model that ensure that DET providing support only for open source tools is okay, then I would say why not? Of course, from our perspective, we want to let's say to see that collectively, what is brought collectively by all the DETs. So we want all the DETs to cover all the different tools, all the different needs and different technologies that are in need for the European companies. So I would not see if all the DETs were just focused on using only open source tools, for instance. I think that would miss the point, because this is not what is needed right now. But individually, that might be okay. I don't know. But,
well, the thing is, we do this since many years, and the call you are offering, the service you're offering also for SMEs and also for research institutes. And research institutes do a lot of tape outs with open source tools. So if I wouldn't see a business there, I wouldn't offer that kind of services. And yes, we are in business. Yes, we offer services for open source EDA tools. Yes, I know the EU funding program to further develop open source EDA tools, but that was kind of addressed for further developing open source EDA tools in the context of research institutes. And yes, I lobbied for it for many years, and I'm happy that now we have 20 million or 30 million to further develop open source EDA tools. But my question is your platform design enablement team call excluding a company like ours?
No. But again, I would say, why don't you partner with another company or another another entity that is also specialized in commercial design tools? Because then you make a higher chance, yeah? Because remember the whole requirements flow, right?
500,000 is not much money for 3 companies for 3 years.
No. Well, again, the only eligible cost is to set up your own cloud service and to connect to the PCT. Yeah, there is you don't get money for supporting customers or to build another open source flow or whatever. This is all not eligible cost. So I would say 500,000 is quite a lot for what is eligible. Yeah. But I think we need to move to the next. Thank you, Edmund.
Thank you.
Pasi Pilvas is on the roll.
Okay. Hello. I have a question on creation on optimal DET consortium structure. So I have understood that the first call is focusing on mature process nodes, and if we imagine that we have a DET consortium which has these competencies already, but in addition has something like maybe on quantum computing, photonics. So do you see that this kind of versatile set of competencies will hurt the chances of getting accepted, or is it more like a bonus? How do you see? I'm trying to understand how to create this optimal fit per call if there is a focus on technologies.
I think it's pretty much a bonus. I mean, in principle, we want, as I think Georgie mentioned, the first call or it covers perhaps 10 DETs at most. So we won't have a plethora of DETs in the end. So it's better if DETs can combine, focus on different technologies, especially if you have mature and advanced one, because then you cover a whole range of customers. I think that's the spirit of the initiative, I think.
Okay, clear. Thanks.
Next is Herr Reboot. Excuse me. No.
Yeah, hello. So I put a lot. I am Hervé Ribot from the Minalogic Innovation Cluster, and I will be in charge of the FDSOI Competence Center. So I have 2 different questions. first question, but is the relationship between competence center and design platform and how you see it? And second question, very general question I got from design houses. They check most of the box in terms of eligibility, but of course there is probably, I don't know, 100 or more design house in Europe, so there cannot be one DET per design house. So what is your view on that?
Yeah, I will take the first question and then David can take the second one, I think. So the relation between the competence centers and the PCT is the following. I would say the competence center, they need to reach out in their specific country for, I would say, potential users for the design platform. So that's one. Of course, users can also knock on the door of the competence center and say, well, I have an idea, I want to do this. And then the competence center needs to bring them up to the level that they are ready to be onboarded on the design platform. It can also be the other way around. So a user knocks on the door of the PCT or a DET, but the user is not mature enough. So then he comes in this level 0. And level 0, when it comes to training, is really also, I would say, a bit the responsibility of the competence center. So to bring them up to the level that they are ready to become a level 1.
Okay.
So that is the answer to the first question. And David, the second one for you.
So for the second question, which is really up to the point, of course, I think design houses are ideal candidate because they are established and they cover the design range. Maybe some of them are not already completely providing cloud-based services for design, so that has to be checked, and also maybe not have the connection towards the end part of the journey, towards the access to silicon, etc. So that's also a key aspect to monitor among all the design houses that are present in the European landscape. But I mean, of course, all the design houses and stakeholders in the field cannot be, part of DETs, because I mean we have let's say I think a limited amount of budget available to us for one thing, and also I think the idea is that we will have perhaps more key center points that can distribute then afterwards, depending on the level of amounts of project, of customers. They will act. They can jointly work in connection, in collaboration with other design houses. So I would say it's not a problem for a design house to be submit a proposal where it is explicitly mentioned that they will collectively assess some of the projects coming from users in a joint manner with other design houses involved. I think this would perfectly make sense.
Thank you, David. So maybe, sir, you're right. May I ask for a bit shorter questions and shorter answers? We are running out of time.
Yeah, sure.
I have Omri Rezman. He was in the corner of my screen.
Yeah.
So if you,
you kind of leaped over me, but it's okay.
Yes,
Hi, everyone.
excuse
Thank
me,
you very much. I have a question that is somehow related to what my colleague Pilvas have mentioned before about technology. This is specifically about industry. To what extent the selection of DETs would be specific for the support of the European industries, such as automotive and industrial automation?
Short answer, please.
Well,
I would say it doesn't matter. We need to support the industry at large.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. Michael.
Yes, Michael Gude from Cologne Chip. One very easy question. Do the DTEs also support turnkey design or only higher level for advanced nodes?
Both.
No, yeah, both.
Yes.
Both. And the other question is, if we are talking about startups, then in many cases, even an FPGA would fit for a ramp up, for instance. Do they also provide a design for FPGA?
Yeah, I think it can be eligible.
because most of, especially in advanced nodes, the costs are so high that many projects cannot work because of the economy.
We don't have time for more discussions, but
no. I said that they are eligible, so yes.
Yes, they are eligible, yes. Now we have Peter Fischer.
Yeah, hello, I'm from Heidelberg University. 2 short questions. Just to make sure, the funding for the DETs is only startup funding for infrastructure, and the long-term running, how should this be funded then? I don't understand.
It's a commercial endeavor.
It's a commercial endeavor, okay.
Yes.
And my second question, how is the future of Euro practice then? Is this a parallel activity?
Yeah, there is a separate call for Europractice like services, which is currently open. So yes, it's parallel.
Okay, thank you.
Rob Taylor.
Yes. So just a very quick question, just a clarity on breadth of process support for a given DET. Are you hoping a DET will be able to cover all of that breadth, part of that breadth, and how does that relate to the rating in the evaluation?
I didn't really.
No, I also didn't really get the question, Rob.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, no, I can hear you, but I didn't get the core of the question. So maybe try to
right.
formulate.
So in terms of manufacturing processes supported, are you looking for ideally like each DET to be able to support a broad range, or a part of the range? You really trying to assemble a set of DETs that are overall the broad range?
David said it already because it was linked to the question of if you also add quantum. It's a plus. So if you do more, of course, you probably have more bonus points than if you do only, let's say, only quantum. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good. Guido Lenders.
Yes, thank you. I joined a bit late, so maybe this was in one of the first slides, but what are the eligibility requirements for suppliers?
For suppliers? What do you mean suppliers?
Yeah.
You mean because Bright Photonics, I know, was a design house?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
But also
I think you are eligible to become a DET, as far as I know your status.
It depends on your European implementation, but and ownership control, but otherwise it's
Bright Photonics is a Dutch company. So.
For 2 specific questions, may I ask you to send an email and you'll be to the call's email. So now we have Kevin Axiomatic, and may I ask Rob Taylor and Guido Lenders to put your hands off there. Yeah, thank you.
One quick one. Could you just put the mail address in the chat, please, for questions?
Yes, I will.
Okay, then I'll go in the meantime. Hi, I'm Kevin from Axiomatic AI. What we're trying to do is we're building AI tools that will help people actually use, for example, chip design tools, so to accelerate the process of engineering there. And I think it could be interesting to be involved in the initial part, right, where users try to come in with an idea and then start to build a design or a prototype. I'm just wondering, in your opinion, I mean, we're still growing, we're quite small at the moment, but how could we get involved? Is that a realistic approach to be involved in the initial?
Yeah, you can definitely talk. So I would say send me a mail. So it's very easy. romano.hoofman@imec.be.
Perfect. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. I think we don't have more hands off. Anyway, we are 3 minutes over time. So thank you everyone for your participation, for your interest. I believe you are already well informed. If not, feel free to contact us for clarifications. But as of now, you can start preparing your proposals. So I believe we'll have really good proposals, and it will be a tough work for the experts to select the best ones. Let me also thank Romano and David in particular. You took almost all the questions here, and thank you. But actually, these are the representatives of the consortium of the platform coordination team who will be on let's say, if not on daily basis, on regular basis, working with the future design enablement teams. So thank you for your participation, for the insights you shared with everyone here. And thank you, everyone. I believe we'll meet already into the evaluation phase with many of you. So thank you, and good luck with your proposals.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao.